Hey everyone, Tidman here, and the Outlander update has brought 5 brand new heroes to Dota Underlords. We have Snapfire, as well as 4 new spirits, Ember, Storm, Earth, and Void. These spirits will form their own alliance, which can unleash a powerful Delta Slam ability when 3 or more of them are on board at once. This guide will cover how these different units fit into existing strategies, their relative power level, and some tips on proper positioning. First up, Snapfire. Snapfire is a tier 1 dragon inventor who deals solid AoE damage, both with her ol Scatterblast shotgun and her Mortimer Kisses ability unlocked by the Dragon Alliance. The shotgun ability is based on attack speed and is honestly a little low impact, but Mortimer Kisses deals a large amount of magic damage, making her a perfect fit into various mage-based compositions. She'll likely fit into Scrappy and Inventor compositions to unlock the 4 Inventor Alliance much earlier than was possible before, and then paired with Puck for mages or perhaps the more powerful Dragon Knight for later game damage output. In terms of power level, Snapfire is a very strong unit. She deals AoE damage, meaning that she scales well into the mid and late game, and her dragon ability is a strong source of damage for mage compositions. Unlike most other one-cost units, it seems like she's strong enough to keep around into the late stages of the game, especially if you can get her up to 3-star. For positioning, Snapfire's attack range is rather short, only 2 squares away, so you generally want to place her just 1 step behind the front line so that she can quickly get into combat. If you do have the Dragon Alliance, though, you may consider placing her on the front line like so, such that she can take some damage from the opponent's initial attacks, get her cast off quickly, and then as an Inventor, if she dies, you get the explosion, and that's not the worst thing because you deal another chunk of damage as she goes out. That'll just get that initial burst of magic damage off much quicker with the Dragon Alliance. Let's talk quickly about the spirits before talking about each individual one. The Spirit Alliance says that whenever a spirit casts an ability, they'll enter a charged state. When 3 spirits are in a charged state, they'll perform the forbidden technique of the triangular Delta Slam, each dealing 200 magic damage to all enemies caught inside and applying their elemental effects. So you need 3 spirits on board. Each one of them will cast their ability and become charged, and then when you have all 3 of them charged at once, they'll do the Delta Slam. This can happen any number of times per combat. You just need to have them cast their ability a second time to become recharged. And this Delta Slam will deal a total of 600 magic damage over the duration, 200 from each of the 3 spirits making up the edges of the triangle. Let's take a quick little clip here of exactly how that works so you can get an idea. All 3 of the spirits are charged. You can see the axes caught in there in the middle of the triangle, and they all took some damage and had a debuff applied to them. If you watch closely, you can see them set on fire, get silenced, and disarmed for the duration. So that's a really powerful effect over time here. So, the first spirit to talk about is Ember Spirit. He is a tier 2 spirit assassin with a powerful ability to attack all enemies within a few cells of him. These attacks are treated just like normal attacks, so they can crit and apply on-hit effects such as Blightstone, or even Cleave if you have something like a Battle Fury attached to Ember Spirit. As one of the 3 low-cost spirits, anyone looking to quickly complete the Spirit Alliance will want to get him early on. Assassin builds can also use him kind of similarly to Queen of Pain, who has a strong AoE damage effect. Even if they don't want to take advantage of the Spirit Alliance, he's still a pretty good assassin in that regard. His Fire Elemental bonus will set opponents on fire if you have the Spirit bonus, dealing lots of damage and benefiting Hobgen if he's your Underlord. In terms of power level, Ember Spirit's probably the 2nd most powerful spirit behind Storm Spirit, and is a relatively strong unit overall. He's on par with something like Queen of Pain for damage output at 2-star, but he really pulls ahead at 3-star, or if you have the Spirit Alliance. Getting him to 2-star early is a very large power spike, and I would not hesitate to play him in the late game in either Assassin's or Spirit composition. For positioning, as a melee assassin, Ember Spirit should normally be in the backline to allow him to jump to the weaker opposing units. However, if you're using spirits, you may want to consider placing him on the front line instead. And this is because his attack speed is comparatively slow, meaning that he gains mana slowly, which will in turn delay his casted ability, and thus delay the Spirit Delta Slam ability. Your other spirits will be casting quicker in most cases, so for a fast Delta Slam, putting him on the front line to take some damage may be your best bet. Next up, we've got Storm Spirit, who is a tier 2 Spirit Mage with a powerful AoE effect, Ball Lightning. It's rather similar to Morphling's waveform, where Storm Spirit will quickly dash forward, dealing magic damage to all in his path, but it increases in damage as he travels, dealing maximum damage to those far away. It makes him a perfect fit for mage compositions, and since the Spirit Alliance's Delta Slam deals magic damage as well, Mage is probably the most natural pairing for a Spirit build built around Storm Spirit. His Storm Elemental bonus will disarm opponents hit by the Delta Slam, which is arguably the most effective bonus, shutting down most opponents for the duration. In terms of power level, Storm Spirit is easily the most powerful spirit at the moment. His damage output is very strong, and his mana costs and cooldowns are fairly low. He can very much carry fights at 2-star and really gets out of hand at 3-star. You should put a high priority on him in any build where you're playing mages or even spirits, as he'll deal a lot of damage without the Mage Alliance. In terms of positioning, much like Morphling, Storm Spirit is placed near the front because he doesn't mind taking a hit or two, since he'll quickly dash away to safety. He's not quite as tanky as Morphling, so perhaps in the second row, to prevent taking too much damage initially. Offsetting him and the rest of your units off to the side, like clumped in the corner like this, will allow most of your opponent's units to funnel towards him, allowing for maximum damage from his Ball Lightning effect. Next up, we've got Earth Spirit, the tanky spirit. He's a tier 3 Spirit Warrior, whose Geomagnetic Grasp will silence several opponents and deal low damage. In Spirit compositions, he can be a reasonable frontliner, especially when paired with the Warrior Alliance. In more dedicated Warrior builds, he's a reasonable source of CC, but the silence effect is often worse than other abilities like Pudge's Hook or Tiny's Toss. During the Delta Slam, Earth Spirit will silence enemies hit, which, when combined with the disarm from Storm Spirit, effectively stuns all the enemies hit, which is a very powerful effect. Although he'll likely not see too much play outside of dedicated Spirit builds though. In terms of power level, Earth Spirit is probably the most lackluster spirit, ranking kind of middle or lower in terms of all units overall. Middle of the pack or lower. His cooldown is pretty long, and the Geomagnetic Grasp is honestly not that impactful. Silence is just not quite as good as stuns or other effects that you can see from other warriors. He's fairly tanky with 1700 base HP and 10 armor, but warriors aren't really hurting for tanky units, especially not at tier 3. And you can play him for the powerful Spirit Alliance, but he's easily replaceable outside of Spirit builds. In terms of positioning, the one thing to remember is that his Stone Remnants will come in a very predictable path. So if you have a Earth Spirit right here, you've got Axe, which he's attacking, then the Stone Remnant will come in a straight line from the back of the board to hit the target in the back. So if, say, Earth Spirit was moved one square over to the right, then instead the Stone Remnant would come in a straight line straight from the back rather than diagonally in. So you can use this to predict where the Stone Remnant's going to come, and if the opponent has a key carry that you want to silence at the start of the fight, try to position him such that you'll line up with that key carry. Otherwise, you can just do a good default positioning, kind of offset to the side here, so that he has the most chance of getting a diagonal Stone Remnant, which would hit more space overall and hopefully hit a larger number of units. And the final spirit is Void Spirit. He is the ace of spirits, and it costs 5 and is a Spirit Warlock. His ace effect will buff the attack damage of your charged spirits before they cast their Delta Slam. And this can be very impactful once one of your spirits gets killed, meaning that the remaining ones will stay charged for the rest of the fight to get the bonus attack damage. They'll never cast again, so they just keep on staying charged. His ability is Dissimulate, which marks 3 spots on the board, and he'll teleport to one of them, dealing damage and shredding the armor of all opponents caught nearby. He'll mainly be used to replace one of the lower tier spirits once you find him, but probably will rarely be seen outside of spirit compositions. In terms of overall power level, I think Void Spirit is a little bit underwhelming. He's not horrible by any means, but his combat impact feels a little bit low for an ace tier unit, especially if you're not playing spirits. The initial charged spirits will quickly cast their Delta Slam ability, becoming uncharged, and then rendering his ace bonus useless until a little bit later in the fight when their cooldowns come back up and they cast a second time. The Dissimulate ability looks like a large effect, but only the area where he reappears is actually affected. But if it does hit some key targets, the armor shred is rather strong. His Void Elemental bonus will break all units affected by his Delta Slam, but this is probably the least impactful out of all the Delta Slam bonuses we've seen so far. Overall, I think Alchemist does his role of being a Warlock with Armor Shred a little bit better and cheaper, so I would avoid him outside of dedicated Spirit builds. In terms of positioning, it's just like Alchemist. You want to place him off to the side where he'll still get into combat relatively quickly, but you don't want him to be taking all of the hits because he's not quite as tanky as some of your warriors or some of your CC units. Here we see him placed offset behind the Tidehunter and the Earth Spirit, but kind of able to get into combat relatively quickly. If he does get focused down very quick, he will quickly cast his ability, which will drop aggro, and the opponents will stop targeting him, but that would leave any more vulnerable unit that he's protecting behind him exposed to get attacked by the opponent's front line. So that is it for this this guide. Make sure you check out qihl.gg. That is a website that I write regular articles for, including an article covering this exact topic, as well as tier lists and meta guides and all kinds of other content. So go check out qihl.gg, link down in the description below. You can also follow me on Twitch, where I stream almost every day at twitch.tv/tinman354. And also a big thanks to all of my Patreon supporters. You guys really make content like this possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.